Travis Wayne Goodsell. The young women's president is speaking now, and she quoted the Bible passage about Peter and Jesus. And Jesus saying, "Peter, do you love me?" And Peter saying, "Of course I do." And then Jesus asks again, and Peter's upset and disturbed and doesn't understand and says, "Yes, of course." And then the third time Jesus says, "Do you love me?" And Peter is completely distraught and feed my sheep. If you don't know Greek, you're not going to understand what happened in that conversation. Just like she didn't understand what happened in that conversation. There are three Greek words for love: eros, agape, philo. And Jesus uses two of those. And there's a joke in there, and as funny as it is for me, I'm not going to repeat the joke. But Jesus uses agape when talking with Peter. "Peter, do you agape me?" "Of course I do. Feed my sheep." "Peter, do you agape me?" "Yes, of course I do. Feed my sheep." "Peter, do you philo me?" Peter was incapable of agape love. He couldn't get it, he couldn't comprehend it. And so Jesus lowered the standards for Peter. And you never catch that unless you know Greek. So that leads into a discussion about Mormons and even other Christian scholars or pastors and whatever. When you give a talk and you base it on your translation of what would have been an original document, you end up altering the meaning of the passage. You come up with a whole new doctrine. And I've seen that time and time again over the decades with prophets and speakers during General Conference, as well as in church. And that's a big problem, because when people misinterpret something, you create a doctrine different than what is spoken of in the text. And I can go over the Sermon on the Mount as the perfect illustration, because many people say, "Oh, yeah, the new law is let evil dominate over you and just love them. Turn the other cheek," remember? That's not what Jesus was saying if you understand what was actually spoken in the original text and Jewish culture and Jewish law. Things that are necessary when you study the scriptures. You can't just read in your current translation or your altered religion's translation and expect to fully understand and grasp what's being spoken of in the scriptures. And Jesus was saying, hey, when people try to taunt you to fight them, you need to make sure that they draw first blood. Then you are justified in taking them to the courts and suing them and getting them accountable for their crimes and their wickedness. That's Jesus' law in the Sermon on the Mount. The cloak thing, walking 2 miles, that's what Jesus is trying to tell us. Get people accountable for their crimes and abuses. And instead, it's been all twisted around that, oh, we just need to forgive everybody and allow people to do whatever they want to us. There's nothing we can do about it but pray and hope that God will change their hearts. No, that's not doctrine. So, yeah, there's that. The other thing had to do with listening to Elder Ballard. He was seeming very gloom because of the death of his wife. But he was talking about Joseph F. Smith in section 138. Mormons, can we reason? I'm going to keep making that the theme for today. Are you capable of reasoning? Do you understand the apostasy? Do you understand why it was necessary for Joseph Smith to restore the church? Not just create a church, not just branch off from Christianity, but restore the church. It has to do with the apostasy. It has to do with what happened. People with mufflers. It has to do with the murder of Jesus and the apostles. When Jesus and the apostles were murdered, authority to lead a church was gone. That's apostasy. And as a result, Jesus' church needed to be restored. But what happened? Constantine came in, took it over. He became the ruler of the church. He had no authority. He was the Roman emperor, and so he had authority to run the Roman Empire's church, but not Jesus' church, because Jesus was murdered. The apostles murdered. No authority, gone, taken from the earth. And thus a restitution, a restored church is needed. Okay, here we have Holland. He's wearing glasses more often these days. Interesting. So now go to Joseph Smith. See, it's been almost 200 years since Joseph Smith and his church that he founded, claiming to be a restored church. And what happened to him? That's right, he was murdered, just like Jesus. Are you guys aware of church history after Joseph Smith died? Scholars call it, or historians call it, the succession crisis. Because Joseph Smith did not establish a line of succession. He passed it off to Hiram to fill in case he died or was incapable of running the church. But they were both murdered together. Thus the succession crisis. So you have some people saying Joseph intended to have his son take over when he grew up. Others say, no, I'm supposed to lead. Joseph wanted me. Others said, no, Joseph wanted me. And others, James Strang, Solomon Strang, something Strang, he even came up with, I have found plates, and I have translated them. I am to lead the Mormon church after Joseph's death. So he was very clever in saying that he did exactly what Joseph did, and therefore was able to convince many Mormons to join him. And then Sidney Rigdon, who was a part of the founding, even though they're sort of kept out of that, but you have to do the research to find out that he actually was involved in the founding. And he even said, yeah, I will take over the church as an overseer. I won't be the president of the church, but I'll oversee it. And he was able to get some as he went and formed his own church. And Brigham Young also. He was just another person trying to claim that he should take over. Not a single one of these splinter groups had authority. None. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, restored in the latter days, lost authority and fell into apostasy, just like Jesus' church did. And so are we supposed to then believe our current prophets because we were born and raised in it? Because we feel spiritual truth, that it's real, that can't be proven by science or by fact or by evidence? So again, are you capable of reason? Or are you just going to defy me, argue with me, complain against me, hate me, give me a thumbs down? Are you capable of reason? If Brigham Young had no authority, what makes John Taylor have authority? What makes Joseph F. Smith have authority that Elder Ballard talked of? And Russell M. Nelson. Go back to April Conference. Listen to him. He claims authority from Brigham Young. If Brigham Young did not have authority, guess what that means through reason? Remember, Jesus said to Joseph Smith, "Let us reason together." Are you capable of reason? Are you? Do you understand the significance? It means the Church of Jesus needs to be restored again. The authority to lead the Church of Jesus has been taken from the earth again. And so, yeah, it doesn't matter what any of these prophets say, because they have no authority. Do you understand that? If Brigham Young has no authority, then none of the successors from Brigham Young have authority. So they can tell you that there are the 17 principles of the prophet of the church, and from Benson, and Benson can say, "Oh, we will never lead you astray." Guess what he just did? He has no authority, and thus he just led you astray by saying he won't lead you astray. Are you capable of reason? Do you understand what all this means? There is no true Church of Jesus Christ on the earth today. It needs to be restored. And it was prophesied, and I've discussed it in other videos, other posts, other books. But are you capable of reason? Do you comprehend and appreciate the situation we are in? Or are you just going to say, "I was born Mormon, I'll die Mormon"? Catholics do. Okay, I've got to add an addendum to this video because Elder Holland just brought out a bombshell. He put out the thing that anybody who contends is not of God. And so thus Mormons are then going to say, "Travis, you're contending against us and the church, therefore you're not of God." Again, I go back to the Book of Mormon. Elder Holland is preaching against the Book of Mormon. He's making you decide who to believe in, the Book of Mormon or him. What does it say? Contend against no church but the church of the devil. I just got through explaining about how the church has no authority to lead. That means they're not God's church. So whose church is it? What does the Book of Mormon say? There are saved 2 churches only. And yes, there's a whole bunch of other churches, but it says there are basically 2. God's church, Lucifer's church. The church of the devil. That is what I am doing. I am following the principles and precepts of the Book of Mormon. So yeah, Elder Holland is a deceiver. So now he's just So yeah, Elder Holland has no authority because Brigham Young had no authority. And that's all I'm doing is contending against the Church of the Devil. Are you capable of reason? Do you comprehend and appreciate what's going on? So, yeah, I needed to put that in there because of what he just said.